Okay, good afternoon to those of you in Europe, and good morning to those of you in North America. It's great to be here once again with an outstanding special guest that I'll introduce in just a moment on the Packard Network. And I'll just give everybody notice that next week we'll be doing this on Friday instead of the usual Thursday. And the cameras will be in Mumbai, India, and I'll talk more about that next week. But for today, it's great. I'm really pleased to introduce Erin Biertzer, who is in Wisconsin in the United States, and she is the president of the Howard Young Foundation, which is a philanthropic nonprofit on a journey to transform healthcare. And so she'll talk just a little bit about that in a couple of minutes. And Erin has a Bachelor of Science degree from the Ohio State University. And she has an MBA from Seattle University. And she has a project management certification, which actually she's applied in different parts of the world from the University of Washington. So her educational credentials are just absolutely amazing. She's an international, she was an international retail executive for about 2 decades, and most recently in the UK and Europe. She left a great legacy over there. We'll talk briefly about that. She's been a chief operating officer for the European division of Barclays Global Retail and Business Bank. She's been the director of distribution services for the Barclays in the UK. And for those of you in the UK, you'll know what a high street bank is. For those of you in Canada, you'll also know the same thing. It's a similar construct in Australia. But for those of you not familiar with that, in the UK, there's a handful of big mega banks, and Erin was responsible for the strategy around the distribution of one of the largest banks in the UK, and left a great legacy. Transformed the branch network, came out with a brand new design of branches and et cetera. So, and prior to that, she worked for many years at Washington Mutual in North America in the customer experience area and various project management. And these were big project management roles. For those of you that aren't aware, I didn't work for Washington Mutual, but I do know that there were 30 plus acquisitions, I think, of other banks over the years. And I don't have the exact number, Erin would, but Erin played a critical role in all of that as well. And she's also an industrial engineer in Silverdale, Washington, for Strategic Weapons Facility Pacific, which is a department of the Navy. And that was a lot of words, and I had to read it. Normally, I don't have to. So that was good. And lastly, I just want to recognize Erin for something that she was recognized for over in Europe. She received 2 very prestigious awards at Barclays. One was the Chairman's Award for the UK Retail Bank back in 2009. She also was the Barclays Woman of the Year in 2008. She also won 10 industry awards for design and innovation. And she generated in her role there in the UK more than 200 media articles as she and the team were transforming the branch network. So a lot of great stuff. We'll kind of get into that. That's the background. I'm going to take a sip of water here, Erin, and welcome you to the program.
Oh, thank you so much, Brett. And thank you for doing this. I think it's really inspirational. You and I got to be a part of what we called real retail. So it was a true cultural transformation and the importance of leadership. And I think you having this network and being able to share stories so others can learn and grow and develop is a real inspiration for me to watch you do this. So thank you for having me on.
That's great. Those are very kind words, Erin. And yeah, and I think you're right. You and I both strongly believe in growing leaders that grow leaders, right? And that's really what if you look at why I'm doing this, this is the reason why. So I think that's great. And I can't think of a better leader to have on this program than you. And
Oh, thank
I
you.
think the credibility that we just talked about really backs that up. Erin, tell us, so you worked for the Navy, right? You then worked in retail in different continents.
Yeah.
You did a lot of things. You transformed businesses, culture. You progressed as a woman up the executive ranks very well. And now you're transforming healthcare. Okay.
Yeah.
So just you and I were talking a little bit before the program about how a leader's versatility to move across industries throughout their career is really something unique and special, because not a lot of people, a lot of people do that, but
Yeah.
it's probably not the most common thing for people to do. But tell us a bit about what you're doing to transform healthcare as in your current role as president there in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I actually moved to Wisconsin when I retired in about 2013, and I was tapped to be on the board of the Howard Young Foundation. I thought it was a great way to meet people in my community, and I was amazed at the inspirational leaders that we have. 17 amazing board members that have done wonderful things throughout the world and ran many major businesses. So I saw it as an opportunity to get to know people in the community around something they're passionate about. When people move to areas, they look for great education and they look for great healthcare. And our healthcare up here, our hospitals are not-for-profit hospitals. In addition, it's an elderly community with about 70% Medicare, Medicaid. And so as a result, for services that are being provided, you're getting 40 cents on the dollar. Imagine trying to run a business where you're providing services, but you're only getting back 40 cents on the dollar. It's very difficult. So most hospitals rely on philanthropy to be able to deliver services that they can't fund. And some of the things that we've done to help in our community is we built the first tick-borne illness center here in the entire Midwest. It is to treat patients who are suffering from the many things a tick can give you. And we are in an area where tick-borne illnesses is an epidemic. It's actually, tick-borne illnesses have been found in all 50 states, but it's it's not considered a chronic illness or recognized that way yet by the CDC. So we needed a specialized center, and our donors helped fundraise to do that. And we also focus on state-of-the-art hospitals. So we brought a helicopter hangar here. We implemented the Da Vinci robot for robotics surgery. We have CT scanners. Things that you don't often find in rural hospitals are only happening because of the generosity of our donors. And it really brought home, especially during COVID, with what everybody's dealing with across the globe, the importance of our healthcare associates who sacrifice every day to provide us the services that we have in our communities. So we honor our heroes as well as part of this foundation.
That is fantastic. Erin, I've just got to ask you this question about your time with the Navy, right? Have you ever, there's been you've done a lot of things as we spoke about since then and up until now and ongoing. Are there any specific skills that you picked up during that time that you've been able to apply in your career?
Absolutely. I think every step you take in your career is meant to provide you skills that help you keep growing. When I started, I had just graduated as an industrial engineer. So I started working for the Department of the Navy. You said it so eloquently. Its abbreviation is called SwiftPack, and they manufacture the missiles for the Trident submarine fleets. There are only 2 bases in the United States that have the Trident submarine, and one of them is it's called Subbase Bangor in Silverdale, Washington. And I loved working for SwiftPack. It is a facility that is incredibly important to protect the United States. But at the same time, I would say from a skills perspective, it used heavy project management skills and skills where you were working across all disciplines. So I was working with many different kinds of engineers, as well as business people and finance people, and it was bringing everybody together to execute projects in a way where you could have 0 defects.
Wow. Yeah, that's fantastic. And, you know, delivering a positive customer outcome, whether it's in retail or even what you're doing now with donors and the
Yeah.
hospitals, requires an in-depth knowledge of processes and projects and those skills that you just mentioned as well. So I can see how that would add up to make a huge difference.
Thank you. Yeah. I think for me too, that transition to retail is that customer centricity. So now I built, the base skills of being able to work together across many disciplines and execute projects, taking that now to how it impacts those on the front lines who deliver for customers every day, as well as the customers, was a great transition, or showing that your skills could apply in multiple industries.
Absolutely. Yeah. Erin, if you go back to, let's just say, when you were at Ohio State University,
Yeah.
and now you look at today,
Yeah.
did you design all of this? How did you, what I'm really interested in, there's a lot of people in my network and in the community, this mainly the LinkedIn community, that always want to know, for successful people, men and women, right? Anybody, what did they design the success, or did it just kind of happen, or did they kind of, make adjustments as they went along the way? Tell us what your mindset was back then and how that evolved over time.
Yeah. And I have to honestly give a lot of credit to my parents. When I was in high school, actually, in America, high schools make you take tests that sort of tell you what you like or don't like. And it ends up, there was a job assessment I did, and it said I should be an engineer. And back then there weren't a lot of female engineers. I didn't even know what that was. I thought it was the train, toot toot. But because I was strong in math and science, it just kept coming up. So I talked to my parents about it and looked into it, and I actually shadowed somebody at an electrical power plant who was an engineer. And I realized, boy, what I really liked about it was they were doing something different all the time. So I think my first lesson was know what you want to do, and know what you're good at, is what I'd say. For me, those were skills that I enjoyed doing. And if you follow your passion, there's definitely a career around that. No, you can do it. Engineering at that time was very male dominated, and both in college, I graduated at a very large university, but only with 4 other women in industrial and systems engineering. So my first job in the Navy, there weren't any other women that I was working with that were engineers. So I think what that did was it showed me that you can do anything. There's no limitation. I never felt limited, that there wasn't an opportunity to be considered for a role or try for a role. I would say one of the things that helped shape my trajectory was I had an opportunity to work for and hire the best. You and I both got to work for some of the best retail bankers in the United States.
Absolutely.
And globally. And we saw the impact and cultural transformations that happened because of that. And they let you and I fly in our roles. So for me, that was something else that I think contributes to your success. If you have a desire to do something, go for it, but make sure you're looking at places that hire and have the best working for them, because they will help you grow.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic. And, there's really 2 messages here. That's one. And the second is, Erin, people like you, people like myself, we were resourceful enough to be able to find people that are great leaders like that, right? That did have that type of, holistic, all the characteristics of great leaders, where we could then be the best that we could be as well.
That's right.
And so so the takeaway out there for everybody is, if you're looking for a role, don't just shop for the role, but shop the leadership.
Yes.
That you're in, shop the culture, right? And then you can have the type of experience and and incredible outcomes that somebody like Erin has been able to achieve because these leaders that she's had, and I worked under a couple of them as well. It is just amazing. I mean, I learned things in 6 months that I didn't learn in 19 years.
That's right.
With some of the leaders that Erin is talking about, and we'll just mention them here. Why not? Deanna Oppenheimer and Mike Amato, right? And
exactly right.
they taught, they transformed actually a huge bank, and we were part of that transformation. But there's a huge leadership lesson that I think Erin clearly articulated here. So please shop the leadership that you're going for, or you might be looking for another role 6 to 12 months from now. And you don't want to do, why go to all of that trouble, right? So just do the proper thing now. And if you don't know how to shop for it, reach out. We can help you. So with that, anyway, sorry, Erin, I'm passionate about the same things you are.
I agree. And I would say too, Brett, if the role's in the retail space, one way to shop for it is go talk to the frontline employees. Because if you have great leaders, those frontline employees are empowered to execute their role in the best way to provide the best customer service they can. So happy employees will lead to more profits, excited customers, and that tells me there's a culture of leaders there that believe in the right thing.
Absolutely. These same two leaders, this last time I'm going to mention their names here, Deanna and Mike, always, said in every, how many employees, Erin, is over, thousands of employees, right?
Oh yeah, 32,000 in retail alone in UK.
Yeah, 32,000 employees, and every single employee understood that leadership because of Deanna and Mike and the philosophy and the culture. Every single employee knew that leadership knew that money is made and lost at the client level. So we were there to support the front line. It wasn't that the front line was there to support us. We turned it upside down, actually.
That's exactly right.
And it was just an incredible journey. And the engagement, I won't get into all of this, but the engagement scores and other indicators exceeded high performing organizations for those of you watching this live and also on replay, that we just passed the high performing organizations. It was amazing, right?
And customer satisfaction went from 60% to 90%. So you knew it worked.
Yeah. Hand in hand, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But that would be my recommendation. Shop the front line.
Yeah. Shop the front line. Absolutely. So just before we kind of move on here, so welcome. We've got people from the UK on here on LinkedIn. We've got Florida. We've got the state of Washington. Erin will like that. So it's great to have, be thinking of your questions, and we're going to continue with the conversation, but we'll be happy to address any questions if you can just type them into the comments. Facebook, I don't have anything yet, but we're here. So with that, Erin, let's talk a bit about women. Okay. And, that obviously, I won't get into all of the story here. I think a lot of people know it, but obviously women, there is some progress, I think, worldwide about women moving into executive leadership roles and even board positions. It's faster and better in some places than others, but there's still, I think we'd all agree, a lot of work to do. Let's just start and have just an open books conversation about maybe you could start with your advice and maybe parts of your journey and examples that you've, want to give on where what men can do to help women, what women can do to help women, and what people can do to help themselves. Maybe we can just kind of, both of us, chat about that.
Yeah. I think for me, probably the first time I noticed it was when I transferred into banking. So I went from male-dominated engineering background in the Navy to then US retail banking. And with that role at Washington Mutual, I met Deanna Oppenheimer on my first day on the job. And just her approach to me the fact that, there were 60,000 people in this organization, and I was meeting the retail bank's presidents and CEO on my first day told me something about her. So I've always looked at Deanna as a role model, and I focused on and learned what she did, what was her trajectory. And growing up through the business, I think seeing women in executive leadership positions would be my first recommendation. Find a role model. Secondly, I think you have to stretch yourself. If it is uncomfortable, let's say a position opens up and you're being asked to apply for it, or you find something that may be outside your comfort zone and you're feeling a little bit like, I can't do it, I'm not sure I can do it, go for it. There's a reason you're being asked to consider that role. And I'll never forget some advice I got one time. They said there was a job posting, and they said that if a male looks at that job posting and a woman looks at that job posting, and they both have 60% of the qualifications, the male supposedly says, I'm overqualified. And the female would say, I'm not qualified enough. I don't have the skills. I'll continue to do what I'm doing before I take that leap and try to apply. And I think what I've learned is just go for it, because what's the worst that can happen? You're learning and growing in every role you do. So if you have a path you want to take and there's an opportunity that comes up, sometimes those opportunities are lateral to build other skills you need to go vertical. Take it. And then the last thing I'd say about women is please, please be a leader and support others. And that applies to men as well. I think women in particular can be very hard on each other, especially as you go up the executive ranks. But I've had the best opportunities and the best experiences by learning from leaders that supported women. And I'm not saying support women by giving them any preferential treatment. I didn't have preferential treatment. I was in male-dominated fields. But what I had was the ability to perform. And I feel that whether you're a female or a male leader, if you give people performance goals, whether it's a male or a woman, a female, they will deliver those performance goals. So that balances the playing field regardless. Be a leader, support others, and help them grow.
Absolutely. I think that's great. And, I think you said a key thing there that, nobody, it's never going to work if you don't assess candidates fairly, right? I think that the point is to have an inclusive mindset, right? Around diversity, and it's diversity of thinking, it's gender, it's ethnicity, it's the more diverse your mindset, and there's data that supports this, the better the performance is long term. Right. Yeah.
That's right. And as you go up, hire the best. I've seen, we've worked for some great leaders and we've worked for some not so great leaders. Everybody has. But if you look at the ones that you consider not so great, what I've learned is C players hire C players because it makes them feel great. So if you want to be an A player, hire A players. Be the best and hire the best.
You're right, Erin. And, I often talk about and I posted something even last night about that. The more diverse your mindset as a leader is, the more efficient pathway to the truth is. And I got a lot of questions about, what do you mean the truth, right? Well, if you're a C player and you hire a C player, that C player is going to tell you only what you want to hear. They're not necessarily, if it's going to be bad news and you're a C leader, somebody brings you bad news, you know what you're going to do. You're going to tell them, I don't want to hear that. Right. So, that's really what I mean by and so how will you ever know the truth in that kind of culture? Right. So, and I think, Erin, you just phrased it probably much more eloquently than me, where people understand it. But I think that's an important point. Hire A players.
Yes. As you have too. You and I both. I mean,
that's how you're successful, right? And
that's right.
I mean, Erin, I know also that, you have a very inclusive mindset Okay, when not just with looking at people, but looking at problems, looking at challenges, obstacles, at transformations, at how to really crack something that other people haven't cracked before. You do have also a reputation of being able to fix things, right? And something's broken, give it to Erin. She can fix it, and having a diverse mindset is really important. Just looking here at the things, I don't think we have any questions. We have Jill Reed on here. We know who Jill Reed is, and she
She's
says
one of the best I hired.
well, she just called you a rock star, so but she said, seriously, one of the most influential leaders I've ever had, and I think that's wonderful. Yeah, and Joe, she's a dynamic leader. The front line affects the bottom line. Everybody's in agreement with your suggestion there on coming in and talking shopping at the front line. And Forrest is here from Ontario, Canada. Diversity needs to always be more than a box to check. Wow. You want to respond to that one, Erin? That's a great one.
That's absolutely right. And I think it is, I am all for the best being selected for the right role. And I really believe that if women focus on delivering performance through goals, they can achieve anything.
That's all we need to say. Yeah. That's incredibly powerful. It is amazing in this day and age that we still, last week I dealt with some questions around, I did a posting on sexual harassment and how it's unacceptable. And I did a little poll with it. And I was asking people, in your organization, are people comfortable raising examples of inappropriate behavior? And I got a great question out of Asia, and this is Asian culture, what I'm going to talk about here, because there's a lot of Asians that will watch this program on the replay.
Right.
The issue was that not necessarily international firms, but more local firms in Asia, there are many cases, and this was a specific case where the person is being sexually harassed, but is afraid to raise the issue for fear that the reputation of this person will get out into the market and she will become unhireable. And, I had an immediate, reaction to this saying, it doesn't matter. You've got to get out of the situation. And this person is afraid to get out of the situation because of she won't have a job and has bills to pay. And it is an absolute shame. So my ending advice was go to work for a multinational company, but get out of that environment. Don't be tormented, and that trauma can last a lifetime, if that happens. So get out. And so I know that there's for the viewers, there are a lot of cultural issues, and not everything works as smoothly as Erin and I are talking about, but here's the point. It should. It should work as smoothly as we're talking about. So please take this advice, that Erin's giving you. If you're a woman or a man, have an inclusive mindset and understand the importance of culture. Go for something if it's out there. Don't be bashful. Take the jump because guess what? You'll land on the other side, and it'll all be okay at the end of the day. It really will.
That's a great point,
Erin.
Brett.
Yeah.
I would add to that. Just think if that is the organization that you or I were working for, and I understand the challenge that person could be in, but that truly tells you what kind of organization that is if there isn't even the avenue to protect yourself and go to somebody and have something happen. So I think the culture of that organization, if that is occurring, and it occurs in a lot of organizations, especially large ones or small, but to have somebody to go to, if they're not supporting you, I think your suggestion of there are other opportunities out there that would be a much better fit. Nobody has to stay in that situation.
Right. And, advice, and hopefully it got passed down. I don't know who the person is, by the way, but it was a friend of somebody that was aware of it, and hopefully the advice got passed down. I'm sure it did, because it was kind of in a public domain without a name, so nobody knows who it was. But I really hope that for those of you out there that might be in this situation, that reach out. You can DM me and I'll connect you to people at global companies that don't have this kind of culture, right? And help get you out of that, because it is unacceptable, and you shouldn't have to suffer in that arena, right? You should be able to play on the field, just like Erin and I are talking about, where you don't have this interference out there. And culture is so important. Yeah.
If your HR person in that organization is focused on protecting management and not protecting the employees, that's not a great place to work.
Yep, absolutely. And that's why this is not an HR tick the box type of thing, as Forrest from Ontario mentioned. This is the job of all leadership to come together and actually create this environment. And I think you heard Erin talk about some examples of in collaboration with some great leaders she's had, what you can actually do to transform an organization successfully. And that's great. Erin, any other advice for women that you've given a lot here? Anything further? Maybe somebody is wanting to go for a position they're not qualified for, and your advice was take the jump. What about somebody that's taken the jump and they're a little bit uncomfortable in, say, the first, 3 months of the role, saying, what did I get myself into? That's happened before too.
Oh, sure. To me. I think just take it one day at a time. I really believe there are, what I learned, especially with our role where we work together, is watching my leader make sure that us as peers were connected as well. There is so much support around you from your peers. Not every organization has peers that are competitors of yours. I think a lot of people focus on, oh, okay, I can't be friends with Brett because he may want my boss's role and I want my boss's role. So I have to sort of maneuver and manage Brett. I think once that trust is built, you're stronger together. And that's where I found, as I grew in the executive ranks, I initially went into it with a lot of skepticism of my peers, because it was everybody's fiefdom, if you will. And I found that I grew much better and was able to get advice and trust and relationships to this day. I mean, how long has it been since we worked in the UK? And we do calls with each other. I enjoy them as people, and I enjoyed them as peers. And they're people that are around the world now that I could call if I had a question or a need or advice. And I find that when you're in those stretch roles, you need support. That support isn't always from your boss. That support can come from throughout the organization, peers and relationships that you've built as you've grown into these roles.
And a mentor, these are all tools that are accessible, right? And you're right, Erin. Yeah. That's great advice. Yep. I think that's really important. And just, to give another example, that, when we all work together, we're talking about culture, that the right thing to do for our customers and our employees at that point in time, a big part of it, I had a couple thousand people under me as part of this big bank. And we had all decided collectively that the best thing to do would be to transition those people away from me to one of our other colleagues that we haven't mentioned. His name was Bob Bond. And I knew good and well that was the right thing to do. So I did it. I didn't try to protect the territory, move the people. And that moved me right out of a job, right? I didn't get fired, but it moved me to Dubai. And I was able to then launch the next phase of my career and go help people in a different part of the company. And that was fine with me. So sometimes the lesson here is you have to give up something to get something even better, right?
That's right.
Did I get something better after that? It'd be pretty hard to be pretty hard to beat that, but it wasn't too bad because I got to meet great people in 6 countries and lead 6 countries in Africa, and that was enormous opportunity. So I'm hoping the viewers and for the leaders out there that you can think differently about your people, your resources, your customers, and do the right thing with an inclusive mindset. That probably summarizes what we're talking about, and follow Erin's advice. It applies to men as well, right? So but especially if you're a woman, have the courage to do these things because that job will get done if you go for that role, right? So don't be bashful about that at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think
Erin, I've got to, go ahead.
Careers have never been a straight line. Very rarely are they a straight line. So those opportunities, whether they're parallel or you feel they might be sideways or even a step down, will help you get to that next level. Yeah.
Erin, Jill Reed has a great question that's so applicable to today. Jill's on LinkedIn. In a world full of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, like we're in right now, in I call it the pandemic era economy, a Vuca world. Any advice that you have? Jill would like you to answer this. Actually, any specific advice for leadership in a Vuca world?
First, let me say hi to Jill. I gotta say, she also was a Barclays Woman of the Year, so I'm very proud to be talking to Jill today. I think that you still need a clear vision. So if you're a leader who's working through a very changing environment, you can still continue to motivate and inspire the organization through that. They're going to be looking to you. So I think that right there, having this crazy world that's going on right now, a lot of remote workers, it's completely changed the business dynamic. We don't have the ability to walk up and talk to each other in the hallway like we used to. But look at it like we did real retail. That's the impetus for change. We use that as your opportunity to build leadership skills and lay out a new roadmap of how you're going to work your way through this as a team together. Focus on the people and engage them, but communicate, because the messaging and what you're sharing, all your processes, all your measures may have to be redefined in this world to be able to work in this remote environment like we are right now. But keep that energy going, keep the communication going like Jill always did, and the energy will drive outcomes even in this environment.
Yeah, that's great. Erin, one final question, then we're going to need to start to wrap up. From Forrest, thanks for all the questions and engagement today, Forrest. Forrest Bivens, when can we get the male-dominated boardrooms to recognize the true meaning of meritocracy? True progress will have been made.
Agree.
I don't know. I mean, I'll take a crack. I don't know when, but what I do know is that talking about these issues like we're doing on this program, and there's a lot of people working on the boardroom side of this as well. This same leader that we've talked about, actually, Deanna Oppenheimer, is also involved in helping to diversify boards, right? Exactly right. And a lot of work there. So Forrest, don't really have an answer there. Erin, I don't know if you want to add anything other than
I do think
it needs to change. Yeah,
it does need to change. I think that there's no one right figure. I would hate for it to change and have it be a situation where it becomes a mandatory number just to fill a number. I always want it to be women are in roles because they're qualified for the roles and they've earned the roles and deserve the roles. That being said, I think that sometimes women don't put themselves out there to get those kind of roles. So I think it's important for women to have the courage to know if that's the opportunity they want to go for. Make sure you're networking, make sure you're communicating that, make sure you're developing your skills so that you're best positioned to get those roles. And I love that Deanna, she is one of the most inspirational leaders I've ever had the opportunity to work for. Knowing she's doing that, I can tell you there will be outcomes that are measured and results shown because of it.
Absolutely. Embrace diverse mindsets different people around you, and great things will happen, right? So I think that's terrific. Okay, Erin, I think that any parting words? We covered a lot of territory here. I'm going to need to kind of close down the questions now. I think we got to everything, which is terrific. And so I appreciate all of you tuning in live and engaging. Any parting words, Erin?
I just want to say thank you, Brett, to you and to your audience. For those who are watching the Packard Network, I can tell you that as a peer of Brett Packard, he's an incredible leader himself, very selfless, and I love watching you continue to grow and inspire all those around you. You've always focused on the people and the leaders, and you're continuing to do so. So thank you for the forum and the opportunity to share my thoughts today.
Well, thank you. And thank you also, for the, there's something that I do want to say here as we wind this down. Thank you for your kind words, and you have a very kind heart as well, Erin. I know you personally. For those of you watching, we haven't worked together since probably 2009. So and now we're in 2022. What was that? 13 years ago, right? So for all of you leaders out there, here's the message, and I'd love for you to take this away. In your current role as a leader, or many of you watching this own your business, right? 13 years from now, what kind of relationships are you going to have with people that you're working with today? Your employees, your leaders, your peers. Are you going to, if the world's locked down in a pandemic, are you going to, still stay in touch with each other if you can't see them? Are you going to have conversations like Erin and I are having now? And, we're talking, we've praised a couple of our leaders from that era. What a legacy that is to have. So you as a leader, what kind of legacy are you leaving for yourself? What will people say about you? Will they get on this program in 13 years? And will they be saying positive, productive things about your leadership? Something to really think about here. Yeah. So, okay, good. Erin, I'd like to thank you again. We've really gone over time, but this is great. It's really been a pleasure to have you here. Thank you. And for those of you eagerly awaiting the announcement of my guest from next week, that will come out on probably Wednesday, and you're going to love hearing from this person in India, and we'll be talking about an array of subjects at that point as well. So thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it, and have a terrific